Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is, I believe, episode 5. As you guys already know from the previous episode, we've switched to video podcasting now. So if you're on Spotify or YouTube, you should be able to see our lovely faces this time around. But we will still be continuing to upload audio only as well on all the other podcasting platforms. But today we have a friend. This is, I don't know, do you want me to refer to you by name or?
It's gonna slip eventually, so let's just do names.
Okay, easier. This is a friend, Colin. He's been on before under Nosh TV. He's also a Twitch streamer. Today we're going to be talking about 3 topics. First, inflation be crazy. That is pretty self-explanatory. We're from Canada. I know it's affecting us around the world, but Canada's getting hit pretty hard right about now. Our second topic is going to be games used to be worth the money, or the state of AAA titles, to be more specific. And the third topic is going to be video games are becoming more movies rather than video games. So with the first topic, inflation be crazy. Do you want me to take the beginning on this, or does anyone?
Yeah, you pay the most bills. Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so pretty much it's pretty self-explanatory. Things are getting obscenely expensive. Pretty much every time I go to the store, I'm upset because there's no getting around it. Things that I've purchased months prior, or even say like a year ago, are now like 40% higher in cost. I go to the grocery store, I buy one bag of groceries, and it's like $60, $70 for a bag of groceries right now. I made a joke before because we were all in Discord, we were playing video games, and I was like, hey guys, I'm going to go out and make a struggle meal. I'm feeling for grilled cheese sandwiches. So I walked to the grocery store to go pick up some bread and cheese, and I came back viscerally angry because my struggle meal cost me, like, I was like $13 or something. It was like $13 or $14 for a loaf of bread and like some cheese.
Did you get the good cheese, or was that some Kraft
That
singles?
wasn't even the good cheese, man. Like, it was
God damn.
Man.
it was $8 for some singles, and like the bread was on sale for $4.69. And I'm looking at it like, on sale? What? Wasn't a loaf of bread like $2? I don't understand, because I don't eat a lot of bread. I should preface that. I don't eat a lot of bread, so I have to actually go out and buy it like probably a couple times a year at best. But yeah, it's getting crazy, and now we have gas prices that just got hiked again. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't get the memo on that. I'm like, I'll wait till the morning goes up 20 cents.
I was driving home and I looked at gas and it was $1.79. Meanwhile, the morning of, it was like $1.50 something. So I'm like, what happened? You know what I mean? But then I find out, oh yeah, hey, we increased carbon tax again. I know it's been a couple times since the beginning of the year, but hey, here's one more type of thing. You know what I mean? So that was pretty shocking to me. I'm buying a bike. I'm I'm
A bicycle?
A
Like, not even
bicycle.
motorcycles anymore? You're just
I
going
have
with
motorcycles. I can't put them on the road. You know what I mean? Like, it's cheaper, yes, but my insurance is doubled. So what am I going to do? They make you pay year round for a motorcycle you can only drive 6 months. So I can't really justify it at the moment. That's kind of my way of rebalancing my finances by cutting out the things I love. So it's either that or food. I need my food. And speaking of food, I'm gonna shameless shill right now. I got my Mr. Beast Feastables.
Yeah.
Sponsor me. I'm gonna be cracking this in a sec. I'll let someone else talk for a minute.
Colin, you want to go first? Because mine's going to be short.
Oh, yeah, well, you live at home still, so you don't have money to spend.
Yup.
But, yeah, I commute to Burlington. Well, that's weird. I commute to the next city over, I guess. That makes more sense. So, yeah, stuck in fucking bumper-to-bumper traffic at 7 in the morning every day, just watching the dial on my gas gauge go down, crying to myself in the car is great. And then all the gas stations were full, and I'm like, oh, I'll just get it in the morning. I didn't realize that the new carbon tax was coming out. That's why everyone was filling up every goddamn fillable container they owned.
Yep.
So yeah, I went to fill up the morning, and I'm like, oh, 20 cents more.
Yeah.
And I genuinely went to the grocery store, and I was like my meat run. Like I got all my like the meats I would for the next 2 weeks, and the lady at the checkout literally read my total out, and I'm like, oh, you didn't have to say that out loud. And she looked at me so defeated, and she's like, I know, I'm sorry. But
It's the worst because like people don't realize when we say like carbon taxes increase. I don't know if they have the carbon tax in other parts of the world. Obviously, some states and whatnot have it, but it increases everything. Like they say carbon tax, and everyone thinks, oh, my gas prices went up, blah blah blah.
well, no, the gas in the truck's carrying your goddamn cucumbers.
Exactly. So everything followed by transportation is going up, which is literally everything on the face of the earth. So your food goes up, your services go up. You go to any fast food joint now. I went to Burger King yesterday, and I know people hate on Burger King a lot because Americans think it's like the freaking second antichrist or something like that. Like they think it's Satan. But
Even the people we respect do.
yes, right, Charlie. I expect better, but I understand you come from a freaking state where Burger King is apparently awful. So it is what it is. But I went to Burger King. I went to get a burger, and I don't even get the combos because I don't really care for fries and a drink too much. But the burger by itself rang me like $13, and I'm sitting there like, what? Excuse me? Like, what the hell happened? The singular burger, not even a fry and drink. That means if I were to get the combo, then a combo is gonna cost me like what, like $17 or something like that, like almost $20 for a
Yeah.
fast food
So.
combo. Like that's freaking crazy to me. I don't understand it.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
I got
coupons become like
breakfast.
invaluable.
I got breakfast this morning, and I usually am the type to just throw a hash brown on my breakfast sandwich, but I'm like $3 for a Tim Hortons hash brown now.
$3?
Yeah, it was 270 something, and I'm like, "But it's a piece of potato." Like, how do they have the audacity to ask $3?
And now they're selling pizza. You see that?
No, actually.
Oh yeah, why do Tim Hortons has pizza? That's fucking weird.
I'm
Why?
like, bro, yeah, let me go to the drive-through. Can I have a medium double double with an espresso shot? By the way, can I get two pizzas? Like, who does that? You know what like that's just weird to me. Like I know people are gonna buy it because it's there, but I want to know the thought process behind the Tim Hortons, like whatever you call him, like CEO or whatever it is.
I
Uh,
guess they want a lunch menu, but I feel like they're just experimenting because they just throw anything on there and they're like, is it selling? No, take it off. Try something else.
but pizza, like bagels, wraps, sandwiches, that makes sense. You know what I
Well, they
mean?
threw the word artisan in front of their sandwiches so they could increase the price by $5. Now that's like a
Oh
$9 a
god,
ham
yeah.
sandwich on a fancy bun.
I will never again buy a sandwich from Tim Hortons since the last time I bought a panini, and that thing had oven cleaner baked into it.
Oh,
Like they they cleaned the grill, grilled my panini, and I am telling you, I took one bite and I was like, like dying. I felt like fire was coming out of my mouth. It was
and
full
you
on.
finished it because you paid good money for it.
No, I didn't. It was bad. When
That's terrible.
I was stuck in a car with a coworker afterwards, and he's like, "Dude, we have to pull over." And I'm like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Your breath smells like gasoline, bro." And I'm like, "I know,
Quick,
but
spit in the gas tank.
every time I breathe, my own breath would go into my nose and make my eyes water." And that was from one bite into the sandwich. But anyways, we're getting off topic here. Inflation, it's terrible. Like I have never seen this amount of homeless in my entire life.
Oh yeah.
But you can't even blame them because like a 1 bedroom apartment is like freaking $1,500-$1,600 or something like that right now. Like, who's has that kind of money to be spending on one apartment? That's nuts.
I've seen more tents than when we went camping.
Yeah, and that's freaking crazy, isn't it? Like,
Yep.
And it's not even like they're like in those like hidden places anymore. They're just spilling out. Like there's just tent cities in like parking lots. Like you walk by, it's like crazy just walking by like an entire city on your way to like Dollarama, and I'm like, okay, we're just chilling back here.
hmm they have
But
all.
then you go any neighboring parks, they're all full, so they have to find somewhere else.
Yeah, the police have even stopped removing them because I know they were sorry. I know they were going back and forth on that for the past while, like removing homeless from parks and like
And then put them where? That's the problem. You're just going to set them back out because there's nowhere to put them.
yeah, we even with like the last set of refugees that were brought to Hamilton or Toronto, Burlington. The last time I drove by Toronto, I saw a bunch of refugees that were walking the streets, like just off the highway and stuff like that. So it kind of defeats the purpose of like doing the good thing by bringing them in to literally have them be homeless as soon as they get here. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what the logistics are behind it, but that's just super sad to me. They're leaving a situation, coming here, hoping for a better life, and boom, slap dab in the middle of freaking Toronto traffic asking for money. That is crazy to me. And this was also in the wintertime too. So I can't understand the mentality behind it, really. It doesn't make any sense to me. But who knows? Really?
We could probably move on now.
Yeah, the world.
Because the only thing I
Really
would
important.
explain is like, oh yeah, now that I've had to do my own grocery shopping, yeah, stuff's expensive. It
Really?
made me cook. It's making me
Well,
cook more, which is a good thing.
honestly, that doesn't feel any cheaper lately, though.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I've been eating out like quite more, like quite a bit more than I don't usually eat a lot of like fast food. I usually go like, hey, weekend hits, I go out, I get something because it's your weekend, whatever. But nowadays I'm seeing it where it's like, man, if I go to the grocery store, yeah, okay, I'll get more technically speaking. But when you justify your time and everything else, you're like, I might as well just go buy a Little Caesars pizza than go buy this. I think Little
Oh
Caesars,
yeah, that
like,
$5 pizza that's now $9.
yeah, I was about to
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
it's like it's still one of the last bastions though. Like $9, at least I got a pizza. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
That'll last you 2 days.
I spent $9 at a freaking McDonald's, and I feel like I came out with sadness. Like
That's two hash browns.
Yeah,
two junior chickens and just
yeah.
depression. You know what I mean?
Well, so you
I'll give it.
know what I did this morning that just made me feel poor.
Uh oh.
Uh, so I'm a teacher in my day life. So during the holidays and my birthday and stuff, a lot of my students and their parents bring me Tim cards, but they're like $5 Tim cards. So this morning, while me and my roommate were binging the Fallout series, I was scratching off these codes of like 20 different Tim cards to punch it into the app, so I could spend half of it on our breakfast this morning.
Damn.
$45 for our breakfast from Tim Hortons.
Just
God.
imagine if you didn't add them to your Tim Hortons app. You just went in and you were playing them like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like
Oh
blue
my,
eyes,
my social
red
anxiety would
eyes,
do that.
just slapping them on the table. They're like, "Sir, that'll be $35." And you're like, "Give me 1 second." You just pull your deck out real quick. He's just pulling an OTK on the cashier.
Just use as many of them as you need.
No, because then the cashier is gonna burn through all of my cards and then attack my bank account directly.
Oh. That was a good one. Okay, that was good. That made me laugh. But nah, man, it's getting crazy. But all right, we can move on to the next one because
Yeah.
I feel
Something
like,
else you spend money on besides food and also has been going up in price over the years.
yeah.
Video
Uh,
games.
I'll let you start this one, Darren, because you're more in tune with this one. I am deeply in the depths of hell as far as money goes. So that was my
Yep.
spiel. Now you can go on about this.
All right. So, video games. A lot of people play them. We play them. A lot of people got into them recently thanks to a certain pandemic 4 years ago. However, one thing that I'm pretty sure everybody's noticed is that video games kind of getting pretty expensive. Yes, sure, there's other things in the sense of like things are getting expensive in general. So maybe video games costing almost $100 isn't the thing you want to be spending your money on, but I'm pretty sure we can all agree back in the day, video games didn't used to cost you an arm and a leg just in general. Like, yeah, sure, the 3DS making Pokemon games cost $40. We live in Canada versus in the States where I'm pretty sure they were like, what, $29, something like that. But at the same time, if you were to buy a AAA title or even just a AA title back on the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, you're probably spending anywhere between 50, $60. Now you're spending close to 100 in Canada. I think it's about 80 in the States. That's still a lot of money just in general. Like imagine spending your grocery for the month, maybe not the month, maybe more like 2 weeks, all at once for one video game, and that month probably has close to 20 something releases. Granted, not all of them are going to be games you want to play, obviously. Everyone's tastes are different. But at the same time, if you're expected to, maybe buy a new game if you're a reviewer or even just somebody who wants to keep up to date with video games, you're not very happy when 2 out of 3 games are going to cost you almost two bills. It's
Look, if
not
you're
what
making
you
an
really
income
expect to
playing
do.
video games and reviewing them, then that's I don't care what you have to spend. If you make
Yeah,
it,
I mean, yeah, come on.
Sorry.
Like,
it's
what was
us
it?
people that try to play video games in the hour and a half of freedom we have between work and sleep. That's the problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's getting really hard to justify spending the money because when you look at the amount of time you even get to play it and couple that in with the like, hey, I spent this much money. Is this even good? Like, it's not like it's not like before where if you spent a little bit of money on the game, you don't even care if it's good or not. Like as long as you wasted some time in it, you're like, hey, yeah, I'm fine. I'm happy with
yeah.
it. But now every single game is an investment. Like
Mhm.
Hmm.
there's no way around it. You know what I mean? You're spending pretty close to $100 on most games now. Any AAA title is going to be at that like $90 mark, and then after taxes, it's already over 100, right? And it just makes it really hard to justify purchases because, again, like it's like, hey, $100. Do I go buy this game that I may or may not like for the next week or so, or do I go buy something else with it? You know what I mean? It used to be a no-brainer, like in the past. Yeah, of course I want that game. I've been even games that I've been personally waiting for to come out. When they come out and I see that price tag, I gotta grab my chest, like, oof, oof. Like you gotta pull some strings to spend the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm cursed. There's every game that I wait for. I buy day one because I'm super hyped about it, and it flops. Like, look at me with what Biomutant, Jump Force.
Oh, we
Like,
don't talk about Biomutant anymore.
We don't talk about Jump Force.
exactly. Like, I get hyped with these games, and they not only are they expensive, but they don't turn out great. Or the ones like Dragon's Dogma or something could have cooked a little bit longer, but the developers are like, no, we got to release it now. We can fix it later because that's this new patch system we're using
Yeah,
is
Yeah.
release garbage, patch it in 6 months, and then it'll be fine. But I'm like,
Everyone copying
so
No
I
Man's
dropped
Sky.
money to have to wait for this to be a functional game.
bro. Listen, at least like Dragon's Dogma was still enjoyable. At least
Yeah.
the parts that I got to.
But
You,
we got machines. Like
it could have
the
been
people who are like,
cyberpunk. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, but the people who are like, I meet the requirements, but they don't. We exceeded the requirements and could barely.
Yeah, no, it definitely had some optimization issues. Um, they did like, from what I could tell, after the update, they fixed quite a bit of it, but it's still not perfect, obviously. But I can imagine for people that have like lesser system specs, that's pretty hard hitting because paying $100+. Like, don't that game? I think I paid like $110 for or something like that.
See, that's the problem. It's not indie companies that are doing this. It's the biggest ones that are just like, here, have this garbage. We'll fix it when we feel like it. Maybe.
I don't.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, Danelle.
Yeah.
Like when we were talking about this originally, when I had brought it up to you, one thing we always specifically call out is Nintendo. I'm probably more a Nintendo fan than you are,
Oh
but you
yeah.
brought up the good point of, hey, listen, it's not that Nintendo games are bad. Most of them are good and really well optimized for the Nintendo Switch. The
Hmm.
problem is you look at a Nintendo game like, say, Kirby Superstar Ultra, and then you look at Elden Ring, and they cost the same money.
Why? You know, because here's the thing, right? Like when it comes to Nintendo, as you said, like you're more of a Nintendo fan than me. I grew up also playing a lot of Nintendo games, right? Like I love Pokemon, I really do. But here's the thing, I love Pokemon to the point of I'm not scared to roast Pokemon. I will
Yeah.
eviscerate Pokemon because giving me the same game twice a year, every year for like 6 years. I'm guessing around there, 6 years now, probably longer.
Yeah, it would.
It's been longer than that now. Like every once in a while, and by every once in a while, I mean once you get games like Legends Arceus, which is different, and that's nice. Um, and I know a lot of people are going to get on my ass because the freaking Pokemon fandom, everyone's like, no, you just don't understand. I understand that they want your money. And that's all it ever is. That's all it ever is going to be. Like Pokemon's holding
Yeah.
their whole Game Freak is holding people's childhood hostage, and most of the fandom just seems to be okay with that. They're like, oh yeah, we'll put your Pokemon in a freaking Pokedex that you pay monthly for, and by the way, we're not going to release anything that you can transfer that over to. So have fun paying us for the rest of your foreseeable future, so we don't get rid of your Pokemon. Like things like that. That's scummy to me, and everyone just else looks at it like, but no, they have a reason. They have a
Yeah,
reason.
Nintendo people will defend Nintendo games with
I
their
don't
lives.
I don't
Yeah.
understand it because it's like I love Pokemon. Okay, I do. I grew up playing it. I still play it. Okay, I don't support it like I used to. I used to buy every single freaking Pokemon game the moment that thing came out. All right, but now I can't justify it. I really can't.
Yeah.
When games for the like say like the 3DS or DS, whatever, when those games came out and Pokemon was like, "Oh, here, $30, right? For a game." That was understandable for me. Even if they kept releasing the same formula with a slightly different story, new Pokemon, I would be okay with that. You're looking at $30? Yeah, sure. Boom, take my money, right? $35? Sure. Boom, take my money. $40? Take my money. $70, bro. What are you what are you giving me that is going to have me debate, hey, do I want the next Pokemon game or do I want Elden Ring? Do I want the next Pokemon game or do I want the next COD? You know what I mean? Even though COD's the
Yeah.
same thing, you know what I mean? But that's as an example. There's every other game in that same caliber of like being a $70 game wins in my opinion. There's no comparison. So when I see them shilling this, oh hey, buy our new game, and everyone's just like, oh yeah, la di da da da, freaking buy it over and over again because yo, I'm telling you right now, Pokemon fans are literal battered housewives. Like they have that, what do they
It's an
call it,
abusive
Stockholm.
relationship.
Yeah, it's
It's
Stockholm
tough.
syndrome. You've been abused your whole life. You don't know what it is to be normal anymore. So you're just taking the abuse, and you're like, yeah, no, this bruise on my leg, I was just being dumb, and he hit me. It was fine. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're justifying
Very
it.
PC of you.
It's like, I was being an idiot, so he kicked me down the stairs. You know what I mean? Like you can't be okay with this. They're literally screwing them over and over again, and they're just like, this is fine. Like they're like that meme of the dog sitting in the burning house.
Yes.
This is fine. This is fine over and over again. So it's like I have nothing but disrespect for Nintendo.
So
Everyone knows this. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you, but like I've played every major like Nintendo title on the Switch for the past couple of years, and I'm not going to tell you how or why, but I don't own a Switch. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it at that.
So I guess my big problem with, I don't know if it's Game Freak or Nintendo or whatever, is they're so protective of the IP of Pokemon, which is a globally, probably the most globally recognized fucking IP that exists.
Mm-hmm.
And they've never dabbled into other genres. And they could. Like
They very
they've got their weird like picture game, but at the core it's Pokemon. Like
Mhm.
they could sell me a Nintendogs where you get to take care and pet your own freaking Eevee and shit, and I'd buy that.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the actual base Pokemon. With this like new trend of horror games set for kids, like the Poppy's Playhouse, Five Nights at Freddy's, give me a
Yeah.
freaking flashlight and let me go to a ghost Pokemon haunted mansion.
Yeah, that'd be
That'd be
cool.
cool. Like,
Yeah, like, but the problem is it's the same game. They just like, here's 80 new, we didn't use AI, we promise, generated Pokemon, and the same story. Go fight the same freaking people in a different city name, but it looks the same. And there's no different. They could do anything. They're a bajillion-dollar company,
it's a
and they have the most
formula.
recognized IP. They could release anything. They could dabble in any genre of gaming, and they turn a profit just from the fanboys. Whether
Yeah,
it
just
works out in the
Pokemon in
long
it.
run or not, we'll drop a Pokemon MMO. It fails drastically. Guess what? We still made a profit. We're
So
Nintendo.
that's just Temtem.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I say. Indie companies are doing it because they won't, and they have the ability to, and they're just slacking. And that's why
Yeah.
the whole like this whole war on what was it, Power World,
Power Roll.
is like,
Yeah.
that makes no sense because they're just doing something that everyone's wanted. All these Pokemon fanboys are grown up now. Might as well dabble in other genres.
Yeah. And
Everybody roasted Power World because they're like, oh, they're borrowing from Pokemon. Listen, they definitely borrowed from Pokemon, yes, but Pokemon is not the only capture monster game to ever exist.
it's not
Pokemon,
even the first.
that's what I'm saying. Like technically, it was what was the name of that freaking
Monster Rancher.
not Monster Rancher before that, the one that
Uh,
I can't remember the name of it right now.
no, there was
Oh,
one
Japanese
before
game.
Pokemon. Yeah, I'm just gosh.
When you caught capture demons or something.
Uh, hold on. Monster catching game before Pokemon. Yeah, I love how that's one of the first things that comes up.
Dragon Quest.
Yeah, Dragon Quest.
Faster.
To be fair, though, that one I wouldn't even really Monster Tamer genre. Yeah, Megami Tenshin. Oh,
That
yeah,
was it.
Shin Megami Tensei. Yeah,
Yes, that was the name. Okay, but like, my point is that it it had an aspect of Pokemon in it, but the game itself is entirely different, completely different. If anything,
yeah,
people should be mad that it's so similar to any other survival game like Ark Survival or
yeah.
something
Yeah.
along those lines. But no, everyone goes Pokemon, Pokemon, and they get angry. Meanwhile, Pokemon, like Game Freak, Nintendo, whoever it is, okay, they need to take the example of, hey, let's use our pull, let's use our popularity and just make something else. You know what I mean? Because they make enough money that they can justify a failure. You know, even if it doesn't work out well, they would more than likely at least break even. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
If the game is bad, people will buy it. Or B, go back to the drawing board if it doesn't work. You have enough money to do that. Your career is never going to die out because you released one bad game. Because I don't know if you know, but they've already been doing that. They've been releasing bad games, and people keep buying them anyways. This is why
Yeah.
I shit on Arceus. Sorry, Darren, I'll give you just 1 second.
Yeah.
I shit on Arceus all of the time because when that game came out, it was a mess. All right, that game came out, it was a disaster. Didn't even freaking run right on the Switch, which again is another problem for the Switch. Because it's running ancient hardware at this point. But at least they tried. And I've actually played Arceus, and I thought it was refreshing. I didn't think it was the best Pokemon game in the world. I didn't think that. But the fact that it was unique enough for me to stay interested in it was already a step in the right direction. But I don't know if they're going to be doing that again. So Darren,
The
yeah,
fact Pokemon could be turned into any other genre, and it hasn't.
Yeah, similar to like what Colin's saying, the problem I think Pokemon has more than any other company is a problem that shouldn't be specific to Pokemon, especially because of the whole money situation. Pokemon's stagnation is something they're like one of the only companies that could get away with, like you said, trying something new. One thing I've heard the more I've looked into like a lot of the games industry, especially recently with a lot of stuff that's been going on, is that partially the problem is that these companies can't take financial risks because their budgets are too bloated. Like there's too big of a budget that investors cannot justify you not doing something safe. So we make fun of COD being the same thing all year round, but hey, listen, it and NBA and FIFA make money. So of course they're going to do the same thing over and over again. Whatever. Pokemon though, I look at it and I go, listen, you guys, the fact that people can look at something like Power World and their immediate thought is a Pokemon clone when Pokemon wasn't even the first of its kind, versus like if you're an anime fan, people reference Dragon Ball all the time for shonen. That shows the not just the reach, but how influential and popular it is. Pokemon can do something different and literally just add the word Pokemon to it. The fact that they have like what is it? It's not. I call it. It's Pokemon Sleep, but it's essentially. It's not even a game. It's just like almost like an app for your phone that tells you when you should go to bed and keeps track of your calories and all this stuff. Like they can do stuff like that, but they can't make just like a random like racing game or something where you run on the back of like Cobalion and like
No, it's
other
much cheaper
fast
to steal
Pokemon or
somebody's
whatever,
fitness app and put a Pokemon skin on it.
Yep.
right? Yeah, and so it's so weird that it's like Pokemon out of all the things, out of all the game IPs, it's the one that should be like Mario and Sonic that just does stupid shit and see what
I
sticks on the wall.
I don't understand how they have like how you have Mario and Sonic and those that whole like plethora of games that they release for those random stuff like Mario and
But
Sonic.
they've diversified those more. Mario played tennis. They made a sports game. They made a racing game. Pokemon
Yes,
ain't done none of that.
that's what I
That's what I'm
mean. I
saying.
don't understand
Yeah.
why they don't take that example. Like they're the only one that doesn't do that. And I'm not going to say all of those games are the best, okay? You know what I mean? Some of them are whatever. But
Yeah, but they tried.
as party games and stuff, yeah, they're fun. So
Yeah,
I don't
people
understand.
love Pokemon Tournament. Like they love
Oh, I
it.
love Pokemon tournaments so much. Jeez.
And no, you played Unite, didn't you?
Yes, actually, Unite was another one I was going to get into. Unite was a good example of like, hey, you guys could genuinely make something really good here, right? But the problem with Unite was they made it pay to win like out the
Yeah.
ass. Okay,
Yeah.
people were running around with freaking Gengars, just one shot and everybody left, right, and center. So
You had a Zapdos, your team won.
yes, that's what I mean. So it's like, okay, you got some kinks you got to work out, but the
It's a start.
idea was there. Yeah,
There's enough Pokemon to make a MOBA out of Pokemon, and you could have characters for years.
they could literally make like just Pokemon League,
Yeah.
and they could make a new release. Imagine that. You know how League drops a release trailer and everyone loses their mind. Imagine
Yeah.
having like a roster in like a Pokemon MOBA, and they're just like, which like, can you imagine if they're gonna start it? It's gonna be like the beginning of the show where it's like, who's that Pokemon? Like the next
Yeah.
release in the game type thing. I think that'd be so cool. Honestly,
It's like,
even if they
it's
made
like
it
whenever
like,
Smash makes trailers, it'd just be great.
I'd love
yes,
just an entire like shonen league, but that's a whole nother conversation.
oh jeez.
It could be, but you know what's funny? We could probably. I wouldn't say this leads into the next topic, but when we're talking about video games used to be worth the money, Pokemon, weirdly enough, has been avoiding this trend that I've noticed of a lot more AAA games just becoming movies. Like, there's just this weird thing I've noticed where it feels like video games are ashamed to be video games and are trying way harder to be movies. And I especially see it whenever I look at like nominations during the Game Awards. What ends up being on a lot of those nominations that aren't for like say the RPG genre are usually just games that look like movies. And I'm not talking about graphics. I'm talking walk and talk segments. I'm talking just like in general the way exposition is always given. Like it there's very few things beyond just the the UI that feel like I'm playing a video game.
X for
Yeah, I think
Dell.
it works in some settings, but I don't think it works in all settings. I'm fine with a walk and talk as long as the NPCs can go the same pace as you. Because if they're genuinely walking and that you have to walk to, no.
Yeah.
But
So
you're filling things in when you're traveling from point A to point B. I'd rather that than like a quest text to read because I'm not going to read them. I promise you.
yeah, I haven't played a lot of like RPGs because I feel like RPGs mostly suffer from that nowadays. Um, I haven't played a lot of them as of late, but you definitely see it. And playing games like Baldur's Gate makes makes that stand out a lot more because you don't know what you have until it's gone, right? So when I played Baldur's Gate, and that was like not the first RPG, obviously, but like that was the first one in a very long time that I've genuinely sat through and played through. And just the amount of control you had playing that game was mind blowing for me. I played with Colin here, so he already knows. Like everyone else is like, oh, hey, we got to fight this boss, and it's going to be super hard. It's going to be this and that. Sorry. I would sit next to the boss, have a conversation, and at the end of it, he doesn't want to kill us. Like what games can you do things like that in? It's like you had the ability to do almost anything. Obviously it's not full, you know, say and do whatever you want, but
You
just
decide to have drinking contest a boss to death instead of fighting him.
yeah, just outdrank the giant gluttonous monster. Like it was crazy to me because I didn't even think I could do it, but I was like, hey, let's see if I can try this real quick, and it genuinely worked. And it just made it sad because like playing any other RPG after that made me just kind of like, damn,
Yeah,
I can't
yeah, that would stick out a
I
lot.
can't do anything in these freaking games. It's like, hey, do you want to go here? No. Well, we're still going here because your opinion didn't actually matter. You know what
You
I
mean
mean?
Pokemon?
And I that's the big thing I have in RPGs is when they have choices in the dialogue, and then all of a sudden, no matter what choice you make, it's like I'm doing the same thing. There, you can tell that
Mm-hmm.
no matter what happened, I would be doing this quest with a different NPC the exact same way and spot, and it would have the same outcome, just with a different NPC.
Yep.
Oh, Colin, here's the example I always remember of your choices literally mean nothing. And it's from Pokemon X and Y. There's a part of the game where you have to press a button, and there's two buttons. One of them activates the weapon that kills everyone, the other one doesn't. You literally, if you press the one that does nothing, the enemy goes, man, you're really smart, but I'm going to press it anyways because I want to see what happens. And I'm just like, so I can't. The scene literally has to get to the next thing no matter what. Oh, okay. Why even let me press it? Like, I'm sorry, Pokemon. There's certain things that you'll get right, and other things that I remember. Oh, yeah, this is a game for 10-year-olds. Right, right.
It's
I
just
think one of my favorites, though, beyond that, is actually from Legends Arceus. Because all the time when you play Pokemon games, there's tutorials. This is the only game that literally basically lets you skip it entirely, but it doesn't let you skip the tutorial as much as it lets you skip the explanation. Because you meet the professor of the region, and he basically asks you, hey, do you know what a Pokemon is? And your options are no and of course. What? And if you click the bottom one, he just doesn't say anything. He's like, oh, okay, then I guess I don't need to let you know. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I thought that was just going to skip the tutorial outright. No, you still have to do the tutorial because it's a different system. You actually have to chuck and aim the Pokeball to catch things. But the concept of them asking you the question to just avoid 5 minutes of text, I'm like, yeah, can we get more of that in these games?
Yeah, I get the whole like skip this. I've been here before. I've done this game. Options and dialogue, but I don't know the whole movie thing because there is games. I would say which Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is in like my top 10 games, and it is basically an interactive movie where you have a couple fights in between things. Um, but that's a totally different vibe than when like you're buying a game because a celebrity's in it. That's my big problem. Is just like I don't
Mm.
care that this game hired a tier celebrity. I'm like, how about you put the $10 million you used to hire them into the game? Like, I
Ooh,
don't
like
care
Death
that
Stranding.
I can if I pre-order the game, it comes with Nicki Minaj skins. I don't care. Just put it in the game.
See, I agree with Colin and the not just like the money aspect, but like the concept of some games can make it work. So no, you and me adore Lost Judgment. I'd
Yeah,
say Lost Judgment is the perfect middle ground of a game showing that it can be just as good as a movie in terms of visual presentation and storytelling, while also still being a video game in all the parts that matter. Me and Danelle are literally playing through the game, and there's just moments where I want to just I wouldn't say ignore gameplay, but I'm like, man, I really want to get back to
get
this game's
back to the
story
story.
because it feels like I'm watching a K-drama. But then anytime it cuts to gameplay and you have control again, I'm like, so anyways, I'm gonna take this skateboard and run over some teenagers because it's a video game.
Yeah, no, Yakuza was an experience. That's all I
Oh
can
yeah,
say.
it's so good.
It's something you just have to feel because just watching it does not do it justice. The story in Lost Judgment was actually super interesting. It was a murder drama slash, I don't even know what you want to call it, man. It had
Yeah.
everything:
Oh yeah,
police, corruption, murder, fist
secret
fights.
Koreans.
Yes, like it had superpowers, like it had everything. Okay.
Oh
Um
yeah,
and they kept it like in a weird balance of, hey, jump in, and right now we're in like this super crazy murder mystery, right? And then you walk out after you just hit some big clue or something like that, right? You got that clue and you're like, oh, we got to go investigate that. But anyways, walking through the city and you see some kid wants to start a fight with you, so you grab a bike and you swanton bomb him with the bike,
yeah.
or you're like launching Kamehameha waves at people. Like, it's so wild, but honestly, like, it's a trip. And um, I don't remember. Was there multiple endings in Yakuza? I can't remember.
Not, I don't think the one we played specifically, but I think one of the older games allows there to be, I wouldn't say so much multiple endings as much as like one of two.
Mm.
But in Lost Judgment, there's one thing I always loved that someone had told me about, which was there's cutscene mode and then gameplay mode. Which their point was that in cutscenes, there's wacky bullshit like shooting a launcher at a helicopter, and then there's gameplay where you're heat actioning a teenager off a 3-story building, and then the next cutscene after that they're perfectly fine, everyone's alive, and it's like, yeah, no, it's cutscene logic, don't worry about it. But
Yeah.
at the same time, some things in cutscenes, as long as they happen in a cutscene, carry over all the time. So an example I love, and me and you both love, is that, like, hey, listen, guns only do like a quarter of your health, therefore they are nothing. What happens? A character literally gets shot during the story mode and then they're fine like a cutscene
I was
later.
about to
But
on about this.
getting stabbed by the little like rusty knife, that shit puts you down for a while. And guess what,
Yeah.
in the cutscene a character gets stabbed, they're gone for like 2-3 chapters. You literally don't see them for like a third of the game now.
Even when you're running around in the city and you're fighting a group of people, one guy pulls a gun on you, and me and Darren used to do this all the time. Guy's got a gun. He's like, "Oh, look at this idiot with the gun." You just punch him in the face. He drops the gun. Someone pulls a knife. Yo, that guy's got a knife. Like, you're freaking out. You're trying to dodge, bob, and weave because he hits you with the knife, and it's like half HP, but you get shot. It's like a quarter of your health. You're like, whatever. You roundhouse kick him through the gunshot. Doesn't make a difference,
Yeah.
but you get stabbed and your guy just sits there holding his stomach like, like he's
Yeah.
dying. So nah, it's super funny. It's like bullets do nothing, but you get stabbed. God damn. Because even the main villain in the or main antagonist, whatever you want to call him,
Yeah.
he used the knife. He doesn't really use the gun. He had at some point, but when you fight this guy, he like locks you in like a storage closet with the lights off, and he
Oh
just
yeah.
has a knife, and you get hit by the knife twice, you die. That's it. But meanwhile, he could shoot you 36 times in the chest like you're freaking 50 Cent, and you just get off like you had a bulletproof vest on or something. And you could just beat his ass. It doesn't do
Yeah.
anything. But
So, I want your opinion on something.
Yeah.
With the whole like, oh, cutscenes are like taking over the games, do you think that like the fake gamey stuff that they put into cutscenes, like QuickTime events and shit, is that better? Because that pulls me out of the cutscene. Honestly, I would prefer not having QuickTime events, or like that. It's like, oh, now you need to button mash square for some reason. I'm like, and that
Denal,
puts
do you
me
want to,
out.
or
It doesn't make
should?
it feel like more of a game than not
Okay.
having that.
I'll only say a little bit because I know Darian enjoys quick time events more so, but for me, it really depends on the game. Um, if it's in the context of, hey, you have like this action packed moment, like, take Spider-Man as an example. You're on the roof of a car, press this button to reach over here, grab guy, pull him out of the car, press this button to punch through the ceiling, do stuff like that. I think those are kind of fun.
Yeah,
So
but I would say that's in between. Like that's like a, I would say that's like a hidden loading screen in between phases of a fight. Like that's
yeah,
Sure,
fine
yeah,
for me. But I'm saying like when it's a cutscene, there's a dramatic monologue, and then the character reaches for something, and then the cutscene pauses, and you're like, what?
yeah, yeah.
And then it's like,
I
oh,
know
now
you.
you need to press square to pick up this thing, and I'm like, I didn't need to be here for this.
yeah, I feel like those are kind of just extra. Like they're being extra. They want you to be involved. I think in moments like that, it would just be better to watch. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because you have that suspense build up and everything else. Like you're trying to watch and enjoy the cutscene at the time, and they're like, "Oh, hey, stop, do this," and it breaks that. I wouldn't say like I feel like they put it there for immersion's sake, but when they do it, depending on the context, it breaks the immersion.
yeah,
If it's
And
like a choice situation, like this character is holding a gun up to another character, and it's like, oh, press square to shoot them, and you actively have to shoot them or not shoot them.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
fine, but I swear, like, they just throw them in sometimes to be like, "Are you still there?" Like,
yeah,
"No,
yeah. It's to
Netflix
see
is
if you're
checking in
paying
on you."
attention.
yeah,
Like,
no,
"You still
that's
watching?"
100%. It's like the Netflix pop up at the end of the
Danelle, you
show.
froze for a sec. Just to let
Did
you
I?
know, you're
Oh,
back now, but you did.
okay. But yeah, I feel like it's just like the Netflix thing where it's like, hey, are you still there type of thing. Like most of the time, most of the time they're just doing it for the sake of doing it. And if you don't press it, you die or you lose, and you have to just go back to the beginning of that cutscene as if it actually changed anything. That's
Yeah.
kind of annoying. But yeah, Darren, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, kind of. Well, I was gonna say that like Colin explained it a bit more, so I don't really have anything to argue with. What I was gonna say is situations where I think it's okay is like if you've ever played Ashura's Wrath, QuickTime events are the best. They're the best thing ever, all the time, every time they happen. But in terms of like what he's saying, where it's like it interrupts the flow of the cutscene when it's meant to be used in a cutscene, right? If you're like he said in like the Spider-Man example, QuickTime events are usually like he said, they're filler. They're in between phases of a fight sometimes, and even in like older games that we've played, it's the same thing. I would say the example that he said about with the gun, where it's actively your choice, is very similar to if anyone's ever played Detroit Become Human. In those
Yes.
cases, that's a good example of using it because it is actively always saying like, "Hey, listen, your choices matter because what's going to happen here will affect the game." And that game has a ton of endings, a
Yeah,
ton of them.
but, like, I would say, like, Dark Pictures Anthology, Until Dawn, fucking what did you say, Detroit Become Human? I would put those more as interactive movies than
Yeah,
games.
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
that's the complete other end of the spectrum, whereas it's a
yeah,
movie, you're just pushing a button every now and then.
yeah. I wouldn't say those games have gameplay as much as
No.
like you're doing stuff.
It's
Yeah,
an interactive story. That's
yeah.
pretty much what it is.
You're finding clues, progressing the plot of the mystery. That so like anytime you don't find out something, that character in that story does not find that out. Or if you get a character killed, they're dead. And now
I
it's like, well, now the story has to continue.
In Detroit Become Human, I lost one of the three main characters at the beginning. I didn't understand. The thing said don't move, and I didn't realize you were supposed to move to break the system. So I didn't move, and I lost the entire female character the entire game.
Oh, you lost Kara?
Oh
That is,
man.
so I'm like, oh, okay. And I just rolled with it.
It
So
sucks too because I think she's the only one that will die. Like Marcus and Connor, they just keep getting like new bodies until a certain point with Marcus.
so yeah, like that stuff's cool. And like I know the Dark Anthology series, like mid cutscene, they'll have a quick time event or like a hold your breath button because it's a horror game.
Mhm.
And It's just making sure that you're like ready.
Yeah, I think a
Start
horror game could
the game.
probably use quick time events a bit more. I wouldn't say all the time, obviously. Like I feel like at a certain point, quick time events change the atmosphere of a game straight into action, and you would want to use them sparingly, like Colin said, for like hold your breath, right? It's like something's walking across, you would want to hold your breath versus if you're playing I forget one of those games, I think it's Until Dawn or something, where you just want to let all the teenagers die, and some people literally just do that, and that's one of those games with quick time events. But I would say the worst quick time events are the unexpected ones, in the sense of like, say you're watching a cutscene for the past 10 minutes, you're thinking, oh god, how much longer is this going to go, let me go to the bathroom real quick, take a piss, quick time event while you're gone. That's terrible, because now maybe you died and you would have done
That's why there's
something
a pause
about it.
button, but okay. Um, but I also think it really heavily depends on the gameplay
Yeah.
because
Yeah, that's
Baldur's
what I
Gate
was
is
gonna
very
say.
cutscene heavy, very dialogue heavy, but it's turn based, so the combat is also drawn out and it's balanced. Where I dropped Cyberpunk because it's like the quest is like go here, you kill 5 people, and it's like hop in my car, we have to have a conversation, and you actively drive to that location having a conversation. And then he's like, oh, go inside, talk to this person. And then they're like, oh, drive across town and talk to this person. And there's so much talking. And I'm like, I want this to be Cyberpunk Grand Theft Auto. I want to blow shit up. And you're having me
Yeah.
fucking talk to everyone. Like, it's supposed to be like a fucking RPG where I can blow shit up and be a ninja, like a cyborg ninja. And you're not letting me do that right now. So that's where I got frustrated with Cyberpunk.
Yeah, type
Um,
of game matters a lot. You can go. I was just
no,
saying
no,
real quick.
no. Go ahead. I was about to say this pretty much the same thing. It really just depends on the type of game. The genre of game I feel like makes a huge difference too. I feel like with quick time events in horror games, it's a lot more forgiving because it kind of adds a little bit to the suspense. You know what I mean? It makes you feel like you're doing something.
Hmm.
Um, some RPGs can get away with it, but not all of them. It really just depends. I feel like a high action packed game doesn't really need them because when you're in a cutscene, that's kind of your moment of levity.
Hmm.
Because well, the moment this cutscene's over, it's going to be guns blazing, doing all this stuff. So you really don't need the quick time event to make you feel like you're doing something or make you feel like you're supposed to be immersed in whatever it is you're doing. But in RPGs, it's a lot more forgiving. RPGs and horror games, things along those lines. Um, but also in a horror, sorry, in an RPG, I don't, I don't want useless QTEs if that makes any sense. Like, oh, press X to turn doorknob, you know, then walk inside, press X to get in your bed. That stuff, I'm like, listen, turn the doorknob, go inside. Why do you want to make, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
that's just an annoyance. I feel like, why did you even waste time coding this in there? Just make the character do it. But it's got to be, it's, you have to feel validated for doing it. There has to be a reason for doing it. If you're just adding it for the sake of adding it, like you're just copying a trend at that point. You're not doing anything by adding it. So it's kind of annoying to see. But yeah, no, it depends on the genre more than anything for me. I feel like it pulls away from a lot of genre types. Action, um, like shooters, adventure games. Sometimes you can get away with it. Like I think like Tomb Raider and stuff used to use
Hmm.
like QTEs. I feel like they did okay with it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
some of those are because of
But they were
suspense.
fast, they were dramatic, and then they moved on to like immediate action. And
yeah,
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto uses like humor and character building in theirs. It's the almost pointless ones that are the problem.
yeah,
But I have another question for you too.
yep.
Yeah.
Would you rather like I guess we would call it like a controlled cutscene or like a complete like pulled in cutscene? Like one where it's like it's rendered and you're there, you're watching it, or like say like Skyrim where the NPCs are actively talking and acting around you, but you still have complete control of your character. Because I do dumb shit when that happens. When they're like, "Oh, we're just here talking," I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna jump on the table. I'm gonna Fusro da this fucking vase right here," and they're talking about serious shit in the corner, and I'm like, "La da 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 da," jump spamming the corner, and I'm like, I have no immersion in that moment because You've given me the ability to be an idiot, so I'm gonna be an idiot.
All right,
I don't
Dan, you
know.
go ahead.
Yeah, that's a weird question. Not because it's weird, but because the more I think about it, the more my answer keeps changing. Because at first, I probably would have said, "Ah, no, just give me a cutscene." But then, like you said, sometimes I just want to be stupid. But then I'm like, no, the moment I become stupid is the moment I stop taking this seriously. And so, because of that, I'm like, I think I always have to think back to Lost Judgment because it's the best example for me personally. Because the only other examples I could probably end up using would say FF7, where, like you said, control gets taken away from you. I think in situations where control is taken away from me, it can't be boring. FF7 can do that because you've got characters that are always acting in character, like Barrett being boisterous or Cloud with his yeah, whatever attitude, like stuff like that. I love a lot of the early cutscenes in remakes specifically because of stuff like that. Like if they gave me control and while Barrett's like talking about like, yo, Cloud, we need to count on you, I would no joke just swing the sword for no other reason than I feel like it, and it would make me look like such a douche in that moment.
Nah, see, I think for me, I would prefer to just have it be a locked cutscene as well, because I feel like when the cutscene hits, they've at least if it's a good game anyways. They've got it
Mhm.
pre thought out, so it's supposed to be interesting. They're supposed to make it, you know, um, they're supposed to make it fit the context of the scene and everything else. But meanwhile, if it was me and they made me free roam, like I had the ability to do whatever, I would just be doing stuff completely you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
just like completely out of it. I like they're like
wow.
having a serious conversation, I'd be like spinning around with my character, or they're walking super slow trying to have a talk about something. I'm sprinting to the end, turning
I'm the
around,
worst.
waiting for them, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Walk and talks in cities, like where they're giving you like the fucking city breakdown and shit, is the worst. They're like, "Oh yes, everyone here has died. We are a war-torn nation." I'm like, "Oh shit, can I upgrade my sword over here?" You hold that thought. I'm gonna go upgrade my shit, sell my
Yeah.
stuff, come back, and be like, "Okay, you can continue now."
Oh my god, yeah. Just the ADHD hits. Like too much freedom is a bad thing in that sense. I
Yeah.
I, I need to be restrained.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like surrendering myself to the video game experience specifically for RPGs because for me, it's not even so much just, oh yeah, you're living vicariously through the character. It's just the concept of, no, I want to be a part of this world and I know myself. If I let myself do whatever I want, I'm going to do the dumbest things just to test how much the game will let me get away with.
And that's my pet peeve in RPGs is I guess it's the Assassin's Creed effect. That's the one that's the big one. Where you
Mhm.
bump into a pedestrian too hard and it'd be like, Ezio would never do that. We're reloading your last save. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah, actually, that's true. Yeah, I remember. I haven't played that Assassin's Creed game in a long time, but 100%. You like do one thing wrong and it brings you all the way back, and it makes sense though, because again, you're breaking the immersion by doing that. You ever have those cutscenes where they let you move around a little bit, and they're about to do like a pan in or something, so you like line
Yeah.
your character up so that your face is in like the most obscure spot as you can.
I've done throw on the worst lingerie from inside of Baldur's Gate and go jump into a serious
That's
cutscene.
what I mean. Like it's
Fucking
just
panties.
it's so crazy. That's what I'm like, man. Listen, I need it taken away from me because
You gotta
I
get your brother Baldur's Gate.
I
So
know
the
my
four of us.
Darian would have. I see Darian with turn based combat. I feel like Darian would be like, you know what I mean, in the beginning at least. But
Yeah.
just
But if it's the four of us, he'd be in charge of one character. He could make his turn,
Yeah.
and he like yeah. If it's just one character each, then he'd only have.
My thing
that's what I
sorry,
mean.
my thing about RPGs and like specifically turn-based combat is I can do them. Like we always argue with our one friend Tyler
Well, you guys have
about like
Pokemon,
I
and
don't
that shit
play.
is turn based.
Yeah, exactly, right? And you don't know this. I was just playing Persona 3 for like the past week and a half.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And that game's close to like 100 hours long normally. That's turn-based combat in a game where not only do you not get to control your party members, so I had to turn on a mod to let me do that, but at the same time, it's a game where for hours and hours and hours, you're dealing with type weaknesses, you're dealing with your own stamina because there's a tired system where if you get too tired, anytime you get knocked down or get critted, like it'll take you like another turn to get back up. So you're always having to measure how much you're doing this. Plus at the same time, there's your stats, your charisma, your bravery, blah blah blah, all that stuff, right? Regardless, when it comes to that stuff, I can micromanage. I can play these kinds of games. My thing is that I prefer games that require reaction speed because I like to be active and spastic. I love games like Devil May Cry, which give me tinnitus on my fingers. Sorry, tetanus on my fingers and stuff because I love it. It feels great. I love doing this shit. And yeah,
Carpal tunnel. I think is
I was about to say, this man's talking about carpal tunnel or
tetanus.
But
Yeah.
speaking of that reminded me of something. So let me ADHD real quick. Have you guys
Go
seen
ahead.
Dinosaur?
No.
Yes.
Yo,
I've been following that developer's passion project for like.
I've been following him for
You
like
guys will
the
have to
past
tell me
year. I don't know if I can pull. I feel like if I pull it up, I'm gonna get copyrighted or something like that. But
Okay, well, you could probably link it to me and I'll look at
yeah,
it.
But yeah,
after
it's
this, I'll
full
send
on
it to you.
Jurassic Park dinosaurs fighting with like cloud swords and shit.
They
with,
all
like,
have their own
realistic
sword.
animations.
And it's realistic. You have velociraptors Zorro style, like both hands and the mouth, and they're doing combos. You have a freaking T-Rex with a great sword that's fighting, and then you have one that's got the Cloud sword, or sorry, not Cloud. He's got
Buster sword?
Dante. He's got Dante's sword.
Oh, he's got Rebellion?
So I'm
Okay.
sitting here like, oh, he's got Dante's sword. I wonder if, and the moment the thought came to my head, he pulled a gun out, and I'm like, yo. When this game comes out, Darian, I'm telling you, that's gonna be my jam.
Is it going to be a fighting game? I don't know the actual genre of the game, or is it like just going to be a hack and slash?
It looks like a fighting game, but in the recent development, I don't know if he was doing just like testing purposes. He had one dino going up against every other dino, like they were all in an open arena type thing. So I don't know what's going on in regards to that, but that
like
game,
each dinosaur has its own stats and perks, and then you have to give it a loadout and level it up, and that'd be
You
dope.
think it'll be like an overhead MOBA similar to like Dungeon Fighter?
I don't know. Like
I want a long neck dinosaur with like a fucking warhammer that just winds up its fucking 20-foot neck and slams that shit into the ground.
I'll give me a Bronchiosaurus with a flail. Like I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, that would work.
That would go crazy. But now,
the dinosaur that has a flail as a tail, holding a flail in his mouth, just
that would be nuts. Just spinning boulder style, like a spinning top. That'd be crazy. But I'm telling you, that game looks nuts. Just off the it's completely early. There's nothing set in stone. He's just doing characters and animations right now. There's not even like a system yet for the fighting, but it looks insane. And I rather spend money on that than pretty much like 90% of the other options I've seen online, because it's just it's something where like I didn't know I wanted it, but now I need it.
I've been pretty disappointed by most AAAs that I've gotten, like unless I get that shit on sale.
Yeah, and you know what? This goes into what I originally wanted to let the title be. For those of you who don't know, I was originally going to title this section Art in This Day and Age Just Isn't That Well Defined, as well as the even worse title of Art is Weird. And part of the reason why I said that, I think we've just kind of properly explained now in this one, like, literal past 20 seconds, which was, hey, this guy's passion project, look at how hype it's making us. Like, just alone. I haven't felt like that specific feeling in such a long time that I only like get it rarely from certain games that like I know for a fact I'm going to want to play, like DMC5 when that came out originally back in 2018, as well as like FF7 remake when that came out in 2020. Like when I think of art, I think it should evoke this reaction in people. Just the concept of like not so much hype, but berated breath, right? Like, oh man, I can't wait until this comes out. And that's why like I feel bad for Colin, like he says, like the games that he feels that from, there's always a caveat of something bad happens immediately afterwards.
Honestly, a good example,
that does suck.
I don't want to cut you, but a good example to go into your point is Biomutant. Me and Colin were looking at Biomutant for years.
I followed that on Reddit for years.
It was crazy. Like I remember me and him were like, when it first got announced, like it was in development, we were like little boys Okay, looking at this like, yo, this can be awesome. Look at this freaking this humunculus freaking squirrel or raccoon that's got like ninja powers and all this stuff, and you essentially could like form your character kind of like loadout style, except it's like gene manipulation. Like you're taking different parts of different animals or characters and kind of mix mashing them together to make the one. But it started out as a super cool concept, but then when it came out, it's just failed to bring it to fruition. Like it was not what we thought it was going to be at all.
Yeah, it's not just like expectations on your part. It's just in general the scale that the game was setting up, it couldn't get to itself. Because there's
Yeah,
a difference between like Cyberpunk saying, "Oh yeah, we're promising all of this and all of this," and then, "Oh, there's bugs. This NPC is broken. Look at that character clipping through the floor." And No Man's Sky saying, "We're going to do all of this." They don't even do a quarter of that
like
until years later. Oh God, Overwatch.
Overwatch 2. Hey, No Man's Sky made an attempt. Overwatch just lied.
Yeah. Overwatch lied because No Man's Sky at least got better. From anyone who's talked about No Man's Sky recently, they all agree it is where
It's
it should
good
have been when it
now.
came out
Yeah,
now.
Yeah,
But
they do
Overwatch,
it
it
now.
is not at all where it said it was going to be.
I'm still waiting
I
for
don't know
my
how it made it worse.
Yeah, every update just made it worse.
I'm trying to understand what happened because listen, it wasn't that hard of a concept. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't that hard to understand. Like, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. What did we get? The exact same game with a couple new characters. By the way, we nerfed all of the other characters that you liked.
Yeah.
What happened? What
We
happened?
nerfed all the old characters, but don't worry, we left Junkrat alone.
Yeah, we left Junkrat because why not? Noob tube for days, am I right? But Hanzo, let's take the scatter shot that I loved personally, and let's replace it with the freaking multi shot or rapid fire, whatever they called it.
Storm Arrow.
Storm Arrow. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad. I know it's good, and I know from a freaking competitive standpoint it is better, but it sucks. I don't care what anyone says. I love the one shotting roadhogs off a freaking wall or being able to kill a tank pre-firing around a corner. All right, I don't care what anyone says. That's the
Yeah,
day.
I'm pretty sure you could have one shot Reinhardt if he was about to charge you in that split second he
No,
puts his shield.
you just the moment he puts the shield down, you aim for his toes and you say bye bye, buddy. That was it. It was that easy.
Yeah,
It was
I
that
don't
easy.
know. Like the OG Overwatch when it first came out and there wasn't hardcore meta or all that was great. And I remember the time that I fucked up and made like a meme moment where the point where everyone was so stunned laughing in chat that I got a pentakill or whatever when our free for alls. When I was Hanzo and I did the scatter shot and I said simple geometry instead of geography, and everyone was just like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm just like, while you're all over here hunched over laughing, I'm gonna come kill you.
And it worked.
Yo, listen, OG Overwatch was a lot. It was a lot of fun, and it's not like everyone clowns on it, and so do I. But it's not that the game has changed that much. It's just the hope for it for me died
Yeah.
because I can still jump on right now. We can still play free for all. We can still technically have fun with the game. It's just they promised us, they promised us X, Y, and Z, and I was like,
Wave
oh,
shooter,
fine.
what the PVE options, tapping trees, and I'm like, ooh, I'd love to see
That's
building Hanzo with different abilities or building this character.
Yeah.
for me.
I
I
think
was like, yo, the PvP, like, sorry, not the PvP, the PvE
E.
options, that
Yeah.
alone was worth it for me because remember how much fun we used to have playing the events and stuff like that, like
Yeah.
Junkenstein and I can't remember the
Retribution.
other one. Yeah,
Even
Retribution.
if they did like a Diablo-esque game system where it was like, oh yeah, just mow through these weak enemies 1,000 times and build and see what kind of crazy shit you can do.
That's what I mean. Like it was just something to spice it up. You know what I mean? Because we played the living hell out of the game. Like we got hundreds of hours in freaking Overwatch, and they hype it up, and you're thinking you're going to get this fresh new thing with all the characters that you enjoy, and they completely just said nope. Last minute,
Especially because the lore is so cool and so vague that I'm like, a story mode, get to learn a bit about things. That's cool.
that
What's
would have
funny
been the
too
better thing. Yeah, go ahead.
No, the other funny thing too about Overwatch, I think Overwatch was sort of the antithesis to my my earlier statement of like video games becoming more games, because Overwatch did the smart thing, or I should say the unique thing of all of its story was outside the game. All of it, from
The
cutscenes
cinematic.
to backgrounds for characters, all that stuff was like just hype to build up to the game. So when you play the game, you're out here like, oh, that's the reason why the robot ninja is a robot ninja, or oh, that's the reason why Winston and Tracer are such good friends with their mini dialogue during the video game, or why Bastion is the way that he is, Zenyatta is the way he is. All that different stuff is all outside the game. So being able to play Overwatch 2 and having a semi something story mode, just something, would have actually been interesting, because we didn't have that at the beginning. It would have been actually new for Overwatch to do it, and they didn't do it.
Especially with the level of like quality that these people put cinematics out, made it a movie.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
they put story mode in, and even if they gave me like one of those every like 2 months or something like that,
Yeah.
I would be hyped to see it, because every cinematic they made was a literal masterpiece. I don't understand how the hell they did that. Like Overwatch cinematics looked better than the Blizzard movie, like the freaking
Frozen?
Warcraft, World of Warcraft movie.
Oh,
In
that,
my
That's the
yeah.
same
opinion.
for Warcraft cinematics too. That's what Ryan gets pissed off. Like we need cinematic like full length movies.
Mhm.
Yeah, like it would have been crazy. Give me that with a little bit of story mode, something, you know what I mean? Something different. Like it would have been perfect, and it would have been a really good money making opportunity for them. But we all know Blizzard, instead of making money, what do? They make bad decisions. Okay?
Blizzard getting caught with its pants down all the time.
Blizzard CEO getting caught with his pants down multiple times, or hey, it is what it is. Let's make our one of our biggest money making games free to play and charge you out the ass for freaking loot boxes, because typical fashion, as you would, right?
Yeah,
I would have rather
it's
paid for Overwatch 2 and gotten a decent game than get whatever the hell that was with for free. I don't even
And the
play
fact,
it, and it's free. Like,
yeah,
that's what
my
it means.
account bugged out too because when Overwatch 2 launched, it's like, welcome, new player. I'm like, I'm not a new player. They're like, because you're so new, you can only play like 4 of these characters. And I'm like, but I have
yeah.
hundreds of hours in all of these characters, actually. And they're like, well, no, you can start here.
Oh
Like,
wow,
okay, well,
I didn't even know
Yeah, if
yeah.
that.
your game actually bugged, which I did hear was an issue that was happening to some people, because there were like multiple bugs that were going on at the time, except some of them were on their side, not so much the client side, in the sense that like one thing that happened was the game launched and none of the old maps were usable. None of them. It was only, I think, the 2 new ones that they added for Overwatch 2. And then the other problem was, I think, either Bastion or 76 just weren't showing up in people's rosters. Like the entire, everyone's there, but
Yeah,
then just for some
no,
reason the gap where they are isn't there.
I remember that. I was missing a couple characters when it started off. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And I was also missing some in-game items, which was weird. Like I was missing my gold bow for Hanzo when the game first came out. That kind
Mm-hmm.
of pissed me off. I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but they fixed it like a little bit afterward. But by then, I was already irritated with the game, so I just stopped
Yeah.
playing it regardless. So it is what it is, I guess. But
Which I think that's the other part that makes a lot of this new age stuff really suck, is it's like you're burning goodwill from fans and players that would have given you the world. Like, we make fun of Nintendo fans, but no matter what Nintendo does, those fans don't leave. They are there for life. But you see
battered.
all these other companies burning through that goodwill, and it's like, guys, not everyone's a Nintendo fan. You can't just make bad decisions all the time.
Listen, I'm just saying, all of this lead back to Nintendo. your fans, your company, setting bad examples. Okay, Nintendo out here like we just abuse them, and they keep coming back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was the name of that movie we watched, Colin, with the stray dog? Was it Stray? It was Strays.
Strays, yeah.
Yeah, that guy hated his dog. Drove freaking cities over, dropped his dog in the middle of nowhere, and the dog came back. Like, yeah, my human loves me. That's just Pokemon fans. That's Nintendo fans setting a
I
bad
think
example.
we're remembering that movie wrong because I do remember he bit his dick off.
Oh,
Oh,
at the end of
okay.
it,
Yeah, at the end.
in the beginning, he got
Oh
dumped
yeah,
like
the
8
first the
times,
first couple of
and he
times he
kept
does
coming
that.
back like, "Yeah, this is my human, he loves me." But we play this game sometimes where he leaves me in the middle of nowhere, calls me bad names, and that's how he cares about me. I'm like, "Listen, yo,
Dogs don't know better. We don't deserve them.
game companies are just out here thinking no matter what we do, they're going to keep coming back." And the problem is
Yeah.
a lot of people do, and that's a problem. We as a society need to understand that without competition, without holding these companies accountable for their actions, you know what I mean, you are their cash flow. So if you support these bad decisions by going, hey, but it's a trend, it's the next new thing, then they're going to keep making them, because what's the downside for them? There is none. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that whole argument about Dragon Dogma's 2 microtransaction and people losing their mind, I'm like, don't buy it, and they'll learn their lesson.
yeah, it's that simple. But everyone's like, but no, I want to play it though. So I'm like, okay, well,
You can play it, just don't buy the microtransactions.
that's what I'm
People are like,
That's
because
fair.
they're there, I have no impulse control. I have to buy them.
If
I'm
a
like, you
company
don't.
makes microtransactions in their game that you paid for, you have no reason to purchase them. If they see, hey, we don't have microtransaction sales, maybe let's not include it in the next one, then they won't, because they're wasting their time by putting it there. But my point is,
Now,
we
sorry.
support it, and then we also wonder why is this happening, and it's because we support it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you
Enough people have to for it to happen. Yeah.
exactly, like they see it happen and they go, hey, maybe we'll try that, and then they try it, and then people fall for it, and then they go, hey, well, let's do that again, that made us quite a bit of money.
The one thing I feel like I'm probably the only person that could play devil's advocate for a bit as someone that actually does buy microtransactions. I'm
Oh,
not defending them.
I'm buying.
I'm not defending them from my perspective. I'm more so defending them for the sake of conversation.
Mhm.
Is it's not even so much the microtransactions that are the problem, because at the end of the day, from insiders knowledge that I at least have from what I've heard whenever I dig into this concept, a lot of the time it's higher ups, not devs. So like say the director of the game, maybe he doesn't really want it. For example, with Dragon's Dogma, a great example being that he didn't want fast travel in the game, but the higher ups wanted to have not so much fast travel, but they wanted microtransactions. So he decided, okay, we'll make it an item that you can find in game, but you can buy it just in the microtransaction shop because they want us to add microtransactions. So whenever people are mad at this stuff, please understand it's not really the people making the game that are pushing the decision to have them. It's usually the publisher or just the higher ups, like the CEO, not the
Oh,
game developer.
And there's the problem with AAA gaming, the CEO that doesn't care about gaming or the gamers or the market.
Yeah,
They just want money.
money.
yep.
And
Yep.
that's why Larian Studios, who doesn't have it's like a overhead people or indie games, are thriving, and people are starting to notice AAA is an issue.
Yeah, it's an issue that's kind of just like a deep rot. It's not something that'll really go away because similar to like what we're talking about, the whole microtransaction thing, enough people will keep supporting them even if you yourself don't. Now, does that mean you should just give up and give in and pay your microtransactions? No, of course not. Don't spend money on things you don't personally want to spend money on. What I am saying is that there will be a give eventually, because as a topic we probably can't get too much into, there is pushback now with a lot more gamers' eyes waking up to the fact that, like, hey, listen, these companies, they just want your money. Okay, this is a fact that's always been there. Don't change your mind and think that 20 plus years ago that wasn't also the case. It's just 20 plus years ago there were more people working in the games industry that were gamers and, like you, wanted games to, be video games and not just a wallet sink.
Yeah, especially now with the fact that everything is more expensive, it's going to add more to that pushback, because it's simple. If the game is already expensive, people aren't going to be as cheerful about having even more expenses topped into the game that they paid for, right? So it makes sense, and I'm hoping that we do come to see some change because it's getting a little annoying. It's like going to a fast food joint and seeing the tip option. You don't want to see it there. So I'm hoping that they.
Going to the self checkout and seeing the tip option, like, who the fuck am I tipping?
Oh, that I don't even want to get into.
I have not gotten that yet. I'm
Oh, my God.
afraid if it ever happens.
I'm waiting for my check in the mail. Where's my tip?
Right? Like I just cashed my own groceries, and who the tip going to? You know what I mean? Like back to me? Okay.
What,
Why
you're telling
not?
me the AI is already sentient enough to ask me for a tip? Can we go
Yeah,
back?
it's the computer asking for its get back. It's like, sir, you scanned it, but I had to process it, so like I need mines.
Right.
It's kind of ridiculous, but I think that's a good place for us to end it because we're reaching 1 hour 20 minutes right now. So
Yep.
that's a good place to end it. All right, guys, it was nice. Hopefully, this upload goes a little bit easier than the last one. We had some issues with the last one, so the podcasting service we were using kind of crippled my video files on that, so it's going to be audio only. We'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm not sure as to what topics we're going to pick yet. We have a few that are on the back burner right now. It's between tier lists or something a little bit more in depth.
We should make a list of our favorite top 5 games and then sell them.
Funny enough, I think we didn't do that last time.
That's a good
like,
one.
It was one of the topics that we had made was like our top, I wouldn't say top 5, but it was definitely like our top favorite games because we had done anime, but we didn't do games.
Okay, we can say that. Darren, write that down.
I'll show up for that one because I know I play genres that are different than both of y'all.
Yeah,
and maybe people will agree and be like, "Oh, add Colin back. He's great."
Wow.
But all right, let's end it here. You guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
See you in Discord in 20 seconds.
Yep. Yeah. This is gonna end, but we're gonna keep talking.